Good morning, colleagues, and welcome to this collaborative session on recruitment and selection. My name is Debbie Sheffers, and I'm the Deputy Director, Recruitment and Selection for the filling of institution-based educator posts. My portfolio also consists of the appointment of contract educators, as well as the transfers of educators and public servants. I need to extend an apology from our director, Mrs. Mocky. She's unable to join us today as she has a previous obligation to which she is attending. Please note that this session is being recorded and will be made available. And also please complete the attendance form, which will be posted throughout the session. Okay, colleagues, we have already had two previous collaborative sessions, one in September last year at the CTLI with circuit admin officers, and another in October last year, which was an online session with school administrators. The aim of those two sessions was to share information with you and to reiterate the importance of our different roles and how we can be of service to each other, all having a common goal. We already then identified the challenge of outstanding documents, and we sought to find ways to deal with these. Unfortunately, despite conducting these two sessions late last year, the challenge of outstanding documents is not dissipating. It is, in fact, seems to be getting worse. So although the team is going to be sharing information again with you on our processes, the main aim of today is to talk to each other about the issue of outstanding documents. What is it that is going wrong? And how can we support each other in the execution of our functions? Is there anything on the system or in the process that is not clear enough? This issue not only negatively affects our ability to provide a competent service to schools, which in turn impacts negatively on stability at schools and quality education, it is also beginning to have a negative effect on our relationships. So it is very important that we all together as one big team try to work together to find solutions to this challenge. If you don't submit the documents we require, recruitment and selection cannot process an appointment. And if we cannot process an appointment, who is ultimately the worst affected stakeholder? The learner in the classroom. And that is your child and my child and all of our children. As you know, for recruitment and selection services, eRecruit is the system we use. And for contract appointments, substitute appointments, and acting allowances, the PMP system is used. Now, we are not only experiencing challenges with the submission of documents via the eRecruit system, we are also experiencing challenges via the PMP system. And that is why our colleague from the Strategic Management Directorate, Ms. Zinat Sali, is here to address you on the PMP system. For your use, we have a team of dedicated officials who are in the chat, ready to answer your questions, and you are welcome to pose any questions you have there, and they will answer you. With that being said, I am now going to move on to the presentation, which has been broken up between the RNS team, so you don't have to listen to my voice for the whole session. There are some slides which you guys are very familiar with, so I will not dwell on those, but I will be placing emphasis on some. Okay, this first slide, colleagues, we are all very familiar with. It is the vision of the WCED, quality education for every child, in every classroom, in every school in the province. The next slide speaks to the WCED priorities as per the annual planning and also the contributions that recruitment and selection makes. I would just like to emphasize four important contributions where the challenge of outstanding documents has a negative impact. One of those is the improved turnaround times for appointments. Obviously, if we don't have what we need in terms of documents, we can't process an appointment timeously. The next one is also the conversions versus contract appointments. My colleague LZ will be speaking further on that, but we need to convert our contract appointments, those who qualify, to permanent appointments so that we can have stability at schools. We want to, or we are trying to partner with districts to improve the turnaround time for appointments to improve stability at institutions, and therefore these types of initiatives that we take. And also, we are also trying to reduce the administrative burden on districts and schools. What's in it for you? Colleagues, I'd like to equate the recruitment and selection function with the hot topic or function of learner admissions. And I'm using this function because I'm familiar with the challenges experienced in the space of learner admissions and learner placements, as I worked as a school management and governance officer at Metro North, dealing with learner admissions. You know, when trying to process a learner placement or admission, there are specific documents that you need. For example, the learner's birth certificate, the learner's last report card. You cannot process the placement if these documents are not there. Now, exactly the same applies for us in the Recruitment and Selection Directorate. If we don't have the documents we require, we cannot process an appointment. But it doesn't just end there. If we cannot process an appointment, we have an issue of non-compliance because we don't have the documents we need. We also then have to answer for others' actions that are beyond our control, like those dealing with learner placements have to deal with unplaced learners. We in recruitment have to deal with unfilled posts, which is our core mandate. And unfilled posts equals instability at school, equals not education that is not of a quality standard. We also experience pressure from district and head office for the filling of posts. Sometimes there's chaos at schools, and then we also have unhappy principals, unhappy clients because their posts aren't being filled. The next slide speaks to the issue of compliance, which is so important, not only for auditing purposes, but also because the submission of incomplete nomination documents is counterproductive. Schools having to resubmit, which leads to frustration, not only on your side, but also on our side. Recruitment and selection cannot proceed with the filling of posts, which creates unnecessary delays. Preference then is also given to posts where complete nomination documents are received. So for example, there, School A might have uploaded documents on the 15th of April, 2023. And then School B would have uploaded documents on the 17th of April, 2023. But School A's documents were not all there. They were incomplete, and School B's documents were there. So even though School B submitted the documents after School A, the processing of their post is going to receive preference because we have all the documents that we need. Vacancies not filled in time, which leads to instability, and instability leads to quality education at risk. Nominees appointed elsewhere. For example, if Mrs. A in other is nominated at School A and School B, but School B we receive School B's full pack of documents first. We're going to process that appointment first, which means School A is still going to be in question. There's poor relations among stakeholders, there's the name blame, there's a lack of trust and coherence, and then all of this is not in the interest of quality education. The lack of not uploading in time also has a knock-on effect in terms of compliance. I spoke about auditing purposes. We need to be compliant in terms of our documentation, because the documentation we require is not just something that Recruitment and Selection has decided this is what we are going to use to process an appointment. Every single document that we require fulfills a specific function. And then also uploading on the wrong platform. Anything to do with the filling of posts must be uploaded via eRecruit. On the other hand, if we have a complete set of nomination documents, we can be more productive. We can have a swifter appointment process. There will be stability at school, which will lead to quality education. We will attract the best candidate for the post. It strengthens our relations. And the best part of all, we can have the timeliest payment of salaries for services rendered. I mean, what if it was your salary or my salary that we had to be waiting 3-4 months for? So colleagues, in a nutshell, that is why the role that you play when it comes to submitting documents is so important. Stability of schools. I'm not going to concentrate too much on this slide. It's all very self-explanatory. I just want to hone in on the number of contract educators currently in the system, which is 7,727 contract educators. That cannot be proven to be very stable. So, but anyway, one of my colleagues will elaborate further on this. Latest developments on the system. We are now advertising based on the job description, and you will see on the other column where to find the information on how to do so. We advertise in institution-based public servant posts, also now on eRecruit, Circular 19 of 2022. That's the circular to go for any type of guidance. The CBA process is managed by the SGBs now, and then the resource person appointment and report draft agendas, all of that there. We've got online information packs for all of that. Uploading of nomination documents. This is where our issue comes in. There's an online information pack that provides you with everything you need to know there. There's checklists. We're also uploading conversion documents on eRecruit. Ms. Kuhn will speak further about that. Then we also have to do the vetting against the sexual offenders register. You guys will all be aware of the latest circular that was sent out via registry earlier in the month of March, I think it was. And then we also have the eRecruit navigation guide, and there's an SGB drop-down menu there. Colleagues, the next slide deals with communication via eRecruit only. And here we would just like to reiterate that the principal is the custodian of the email box when it comes to recruitment and selection processes, and he is accountable. We seem to get the impression that this email box is not being monitored as it should be, because oftentimes when the team receives nomination documents, then they work through it and they go onto the system, and the system would automatically indicate to the client that there are documents missing and what those documents are. And then a system-generated email is sent straight back to the SGB email address. So if we can please ask our principals or even their secretaries, can their secretaries maybe just make it a daily function to just go in and check that email address or that email inbox and just alert his or her principal that there is an email from Recruitment and Selection waiting for him that requires his attention. The principal also gives access. Okay, say for example now, there's the SGB secretary that is busy uploading documents onto the eRecruit system. The principal is there while the SGB secretary is doing so. Because remember, he is the only one who is the custodian of the email address and its password. So he has to physically go into the system, type in the email address, type in the password, and then continue to provide a support service to that SGB secretary by overseeing the process and making sure that all the documents are completed correctly and uploaded as per our check sheet. Where a new principal is appointed, they would have to generate a new email address or create a new email address and then phone our Recruitment and Selection help desk to change this on eRecruit and provide the necessary access. Again, the request to please visit your SGB email address daily as you do with the PMPS system. Recruitment and Selection is the only platform of, or the only system platform of communication between Recruitment and Selection and schools and districts. Okay, the line of communications from schools to Recruitment and Selection, we need to follow protocol. Schools need to communicate with their district officers, and the district officers in turn communicate with head office. We need to refrain from communicating directly because oftentimes the district office is not aware of what is going on because of the straight communication between schools and head office. Most of the times the CMs don't know what's going on, and that's not fair to them as the supervisor of the principals. Okay, if there are any further inquiries, please, there's information available on the PMPS notices, the eRecruit online information pack, the navigation guide, and then also a checklist for all our appointments. Coming soon, which is further interventions that we are looking at to take place, is that we will be providing you with an opportunity to upload locally advertised public servant posts on eRecruit, which would be a similar exercise to the uploading of conversion documents. Schools no longer submit nomination directly to Recruitment and Selection. As per Institution Development and Coordination Minute 1 of 2019, schools upload nomination documents. They will then be able to insert the email address of the circuit manager and admin officer, submit those documents to the district officer. The circuit manager and the admin officer will then receive notification of uploaded documents. They will verify the documents for content and to make sure that there is a complete set of documents, and then the district will then notify Recruitment and Selection by, very importantly, clicking on that blue button. We're also looking to, in the future, enable the uploading of requests for transfers on eRecruit. So that's my part now. As a whole, I will now be passing you on to Andy who will take over from here, and she will introduce herself. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Andy Siwembete, Andy. Okay. Currently, I am an HR practitioner for South District. I don't have a lot to say like the previous speaker, but before I start my slides, I want to start with the questions that I want to pose at you that you need to carry through the end of the presentation. Why does recruitment and selection always providing us with the trainings? Why are we doing this training? What is required of me after this training? We need to identify those things. Why are we here today? What is the purpose? Carry that through your presentation. I start with my slide, Institution Development and Coordination Minutes, 0001 of Circular 0001, 2019. Business processes for circuit managers, circuit officials, when supporting recruitment and selection process at schools. This also includes the roles and responsibilities of all these stakeholders. It is important that we familiarize ourselves with these circulars, with this information before the selection process starts. This process, you can download it immediately once the dates are issued to familiarize yourself with the processes, with the information, with the documents. You don't have to wait for the day that the process, the shortlisting process is starting when the system generates the application. The system only generates application on the day, but that information is always there. For example, one of the information, the important document on the system that you can download anytime, it's employment equity for that particular 3 months. There is an icon in the middle as we're going to disseminate this presentation. You can click on it. There's more information in terms of the important information to be read prior to the selection process. The roles of the administrator at school. Please take note that you are only responsible for one school, which you are at the moment. And the AOs at the district, they are only responsible for one circuit. But unfortunately for us, we are responsible for 8 districts with 1,500 schools, with many posts, as we are having plus minus 4 vacancies each year. The first one is read up on related legislation, circulars, minutes, etc. This information is readily available for you. You don't have to wait, as I said, for the process date to start. When you have a spare time, print the information, make it ready for you to read at your spare time. You can even read it when traveling to work or to home. There's a lot of load shedding. The traffic is long. Get yourself reading these documents. It will help you. Make sure the correct procedure for the relevant appointment is in line with the above. Once it is in line with the above, you will see how fast and effective we finalize the process, which will equate with the quality education that will be made by us all. When we say us, we're not meaning the recruitment staff. You are part of us because we can't do this without you. Please make sure that once you do not comply, no exceptions, regardless of what school you're coming from. We are working on a first come, first serve basis. If you submit after school ABC, then you will be D. We cannot jump you because of who you are. So we make no exceptions. Please put emphasis on getting the right documents so we can be able to fast track the process and finalize the appointment as quick as possible. Be prepared for required documents, following guidance on e-recruit of what is required before you start the process. We cannot emphasize that enough. Get yourself familiarized with e-recruit. Make sure that you go with your principal as your custodian of the system, because you're going to be helping him or helping her. Make yourself familiarized with the system of the process, and when it's time to upload the document, you know exactly where to go. Sometimes you complain that we are not available for your assistance, but the times that you are doing the processes is mostly out of our working hours. Hence, sometimes you don't get hold of us. But if you make sure that during office hours, when you have spare time, you familiarize yourself with e-recruitment process, with e-recruitment system, with PMPS system. That is when you get an opportunity to call our office, and then you get clarity on things that you are not aware of. Scan documents based on checklist before you start upload process on e-recruitment. There is a process when you finalize the process on e-recruitment and PMPS document, PMPS system, you need to upload. What I will suggest you to do, once you get to the upload screen, drop down the menu, just print the menu. Before you scan, make sure that you have your pen, pencil, and the screen that you have uploaded. Tick each and every one. Save the documents as per the upload menu. By doing so, you will not have the challenges that you are having today. And by doing so, you will be uploading the required and necessary documents. Otherwise, hence others are getting a lot of error messages because they are uploading the documents that's not required by the system. The more you upload the document, the more challenges you're gonna get. Ensure that the small notes that we have on the e-recruitment are written, that are written on the e-recruitment are read. For example, if you have 3 nominees, you are now combining all the documents, supporting documents of the first nominated candidate, as well as the second nominated candidate, as well as the third nominated candidate. But you are still need to do the other documents separate, not to put everything in one because there's only one document. The DPE2 has to be separate. Please ensure you read and understand the minutes and the notes that's on e-recruitment. If you need a clarity, we are here to assist. Ensure all documents are uploaded on the system that you are able to view it. Please, once you upload, open the document to see if you are seeing what you have uploaded. If you are seeing an error message, then we will also see an error message. If you see the right and correct document uploaded, ensure we are also going to see the right and correct document. We advise you to ensure that you upgrade your system in terms of the Windows, because that's where other challenges are coming from. They are using Windows 9 and below. Upgrade it to 10 up. That's when you're not going to encounter these problems. Ensure all documents are signed by the correct, before you upload, ensure that all documents comply. They are signed by the delegated authority, either the SGB chairperson or the interview chairperson. The secretary's signature is fine, but it's not appropriate alone. Before you upload, ensure that the documents that you are uploading are correct. That's where I end my presentation. I am now going to hand over to Mr. Ryland Fredericks. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Ryland Fredericks. I'm a practitioner for Cape Winelands District, and I will be presenting the next 2 slides to you. This is also This is also to do with the same circular as my previous colleague has mentioned, and it's just about some of the challenges that we had during the process. The main objective is for is to view the admin officer's role as per the circular. The main objective is to view the role of the admin officer as per the circular. And this is with regards to the role of the AO and the CM. However, remember the admin officer, if we look to bullet 1, the admin officer is there to verify everything that has been uploaded by the SGBs with regards to post level 1 and post level 2 departmental head and educator posts. So the admin officer has got viewing rights. Which means that he can go on to eRecruit, go check, download the documents, see if everything is in order, and by doing so, they will be able to vet the process. My previous colleagues alluded to the ensuring that the correctness of signatures is there. Certain documents require certain signatures from certain individuals, so we need to ensure that those is there. Ensure inclusion of WCED reports. For the circuit manager, he needs to ensure that he appoints a departmental representative for post level 1s and post level 2 post that was advertised, which is your departmental head and your post level 1s. That must be done in writing by the circuit manager. So the circuit manager would issue a letter to a departmental head of his choosing, which would be a deputy principal or principal from another school, and not having a principal from one school appoint another principal from another school to observe the process or be the departmental rep. That particular representative will then issue a report to the circuit manager to say how the process went through. For post level 3, which is your deputy principal, and post level 4, which is your principal's post, the circuit manager would be the departmental rep during the process, and they will then issue a report to the district director in order for them to give clarity on how the process went at the specific time. In red, it says click notify HR only after verifying all documentation that was uploaded and is according to checklist. It is very important that we really pay attention to that, although we get notifications where documents is incomplete. The next slide has to do with the requirements, deviations, and flaws in, and we have noted some of the issues that we have been encountering during the documentation that was received. Planning minutes not always included. In this, we refer to that when there was decisions taken prior to the shortlisting process, the planning minutes has got a lot of information that will assist us to determine what decisions was taken during shortlisting and during interviews. So please, we would request that the planning minutes be included. Proof of invites to unions. That is where your governing body email address that was created and then registered on eRecruit. And then we are saying monitor the governing body email address, that Gmail account. There is where you will find that invitation. If there is no invitation, that would mean that there was no business plan submitted on eRecruit. Hence, it would mean that you will revisit. Although the information might lie on eRecruit, must revisit it and go and look where there is an error on the business plan. In most cases, the error would be when they enter an email address where it says email, and there is an instruction that says there is only a comma and no spaces. So please go and make sure that you have received your invitations to unions. Where it says where interviewing committee was selected, ratification minutes must be done. Remember, we are choosing a panel out of the SGB. And that panel goes through the process, they come up with a recommendation and they take that decision back to the SGB. And that is what we mean, ratification is done. So that meeting will then enable or will then tell us that the governing body has concurred with the interviewing committee and this is their nomination. Another note on that is the final meeting must be after, if there was a CBA that needs to be done, must be after the CBA feedback meeting. The ratification must be after the feedback meeting of the CBA. Criteria used does not relate to advert. In many cases, we would say it's a foundation phase post. And now during the compilation of the advert says foundation phase post. When the compilation of the shortlisting criteria is done, it will, then you find that they have used that the person must teach natural science. Natural science is a senior phase, intermediate phase subject. So it doesn't compile or comply with the advert. Foundation phase is grade 1 to 3 and natural science is grade 4 to 6 subject. So make sure that the criteria is related to the advert. Not applying criteria if fewer applications has received. Here we talk about if 5 applicants is received, the preface makes mention of a maximum of 5 candidates must be shortlisted. Now the governing body decides that we will shortlist all 5 candidates, neglecting to look at the advert that has certain criteria within the advert. You must look at the advert and then do your shortlist according to the advert. Incorrect calculations in score sheet. This is constant, where the panel has not done the calculations properly. They shortlist incorrect candidates. When we go through the score sheet, the same with the nomination. Top scoring candidate is nominated second, where the top scoring candidate is the candidate nominated first is not the top scoring candidate, and then the motivation that is submitted for that deviation is not substantive, and therefore we refer certain cases back to the governing bodies or to the district. Motivation for less than 3 candidates. The prescript requires us to submit 3 nominations. And by doing so, by not doing so, you need to motivate why 3 candidates is not nominated. I need to caution on this also. Remember, if I only get to the stage where I'm shortlisting and then with 2 candidates meet our criteria for the interviews, it doesn't mean that we're forcing you to make 3 nominations. So there's a substantive reason as to why there is those 3 candidates nominated. Ranking of nominees for regions that are unsubstantive. Substantive. I've just mentioned that Mr. Fredericks is the top scoring candidate, and we nominate Mr. Jones for the position. Why are we motivating it? But because we know Mr. Fredericks and we provide the background to that motivation as to Mr. Fredericks is at the school. That is not substantive enough. Outstanding documents constantly. Please make sure that the full set as per our drop-down checklist is submitted. Scanning in of the documents as per the drop-down checklist. You might have difficulty with shortlisting score sheets and interview score sheets. However, if you look at our online information pack, there is draft documents that the schools can make use of as to how to negate the nominees not suitably qualified. Hence, it leads to re-advertising of posts. Members, these documents must also be uploaded. When we say that if a post is not filled, no candidate came through the shortlisting process, your departmental checklist documents must be there. Your shortlisting score sheets, if there was interviews, interview score sheets must be there, minutes must be there. All those documents must be submitted. You will not submit nominee one's documents because no candidate came through. So make sure. And then lastly, the last bullet, HGBs must continually watch the email address. We cannot stress it enough, as all notifications for posts is going to be through the HGB email address. And I thank you. And please, before you press the HR button, notify HR, make sure that all the documents is uploaded. This is the end of mine. I hand over to Mr. Harry Arthur.
Hello, good morning, colleagues. My name is Harry Arthur. I'm responsible for institution-based public service and establishment. Today, we're going to concentrate on Circular 19 of 2022. Firstly, we're going to start that the public service does not apply for conversion for public service. What we then said, we have contract employers such as general assistants and administration clerk. We then tell the school entry-level posts must be filled locally. What we then say, the school can run their own processes to advertise these posts, which means the process must be fair and the labor practice must be fair and sound. Some of the schools use these processes as a punitive measure to disadvantage the existing staff at the school. Please just do a fair process to prevent any labor disputes. Then we say all promotion posts must be advertised via email, which means that this is a promotion post which a person will go higher. So these posts must be done on e-recruit. Then we all mentioned that there is posts that people are acting in higher position. So acting doesn't guarantee shortlisting. What we then say, those who are acting in promotion posts must also apply and compete equally to the other applicants. So also fair processes with these things, but the higher candidate in these promotion posts can then be appointed. What we then require the schools to provide the support to public service staff to assist them in drafting their CVs or assisting them in any kind of things. Coming new for e-recruit is that the manual advert will soon be done, like in conversion, we posted on e-recruit. And that is where I conclude mine. I thank you. I will over to LZ Kuna. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is LZ, and I'm the HR practitioner responsible for conversions and for advertised post, level 1 post. Can I please just ask that whoever wants to pose a question, do not please post questions in the questions and answer box and not in the chat. Okay, so that we can look at your questions and give you some feedback based on that. Thank you so much. So this first page is just, it's an introduction. It's nothing new to the schools. We are all aware that we are doing conversions, and that is a way of filling a vacant post, level 1 post. So on your left-hand side, you will see some tips, and on the right-hand side is some information which is important to note. And for me, basically the most important information to note is that it is our responsibility to ensure that we appoint professionally and suitably qualified educators into the system. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. So it's a conversions general guidance. So the first bullet speaks of excessive number of contract appointments versus conversions. So the way we can reduce the volume of the contracts that's appointed in the system is by either converting the post, or doing a conversion in the post, or by means of advertisement. But personally, I advise that you do not advertise any post level 1 post unless it is necessary or unless it is a scarce skill. The reason for that is I can guarantee you that when you just do your shortlisting and you have to, go through all the applications, you will receive 50 plus applications that you need to sit and work through. That is very time consuming. The second point on that is that it is a lengthy process. You put in a lot of time and effort after school, you know, to process to do the process. Yet when you upload the documents, it's incomplete, or the process is flawed, and that only delays the filling of the post and the finalization of the administration process. So that is why we have the conversion process. It is fast, it is effective, and if we have a complete set of documents, we are able to process the conversion between 3 and 5 working days. So you can already see that, you know, that is most effective, and I strongly advise to rather do conversions if you have a suitably qualified educator at the school. So then the qualifying criteria is explained in detail in Circular 5 of 2019, that is for the 6A conversions. And then the 6B conversions is the Circular 20 of 2020. So it directly outlines who qualifies and who doesn't qualify. And the conversions are also approved based on these two circulars. Then the Notify HR button, I have to emphasize on this, that for conversions, you need to upload 11 documents in order for you to get the Notify HR button. So if you upload 9 documents, it is incomplete, you will not get the Notify HR button, and you will not be able to make us aware at head office that there's a conversion for Educator A. And if we are not made aware of the conversion documents being uploaded, the conversion will not be processed. So when the school logs into eRecruitment, now they're uploading the documents for the conversion. It is 11 documents. You will see if you go onto your staff establishment under vacant posts, it will say complete. It doesn't mean that the documents are complete or completed correctly. It merely just means that you've successfully submitted a conversion. So I receive a lot of inquiries where people send me screenshots in an email saying, but look, it says complete. It doesn't mean the documents are completed correctly. So can we just be aware of that? Okay, so when we receive the notification from the e-recruitment system that School A has uploaded a conversion for Educator B, we will process the conversion and work through the documents. If it's complete, we will process the conversion. If it's incomplete, we will send the conversion back. And please understand that we are not petty. We send the conversion back because it's incomplete, because it doesn't have the correct stamps, because it's not correctly signatured. That's the only reason why conversions are being sent back. And I understand that it causes frustration, but like it causes frustration at the schools, it also causes frustration for us at head office. Because every single time when we receive a notification, when it was returned, we have to go back and look through every single document. That's 11 documents. So imagine working through 11 documents for 6,000 schools. You can imagine the level of frustration that we are experiencing at head office. So once we send back the documents, it is sent to the Gmail account that we've already explained in the previous slides. So the school need to log into the Gmail account and then search for the email sent from eRecruitment. Please read the email. There is a section that says comments. We clearly state what is being requested and what is outstanding. You will see the documents will also be listed. So if you don't read the email properly, you will not understand what is being requested. Again, I'm receiving emails from the schools where they nicely forward me the email from eRecruitment, yet they say we've uploaded the documents, but they are not reading what we are requesting or what is outstanding. So then once we've scrutinized the documents, it has been approved, We then upload the e-recruitment system. So you will also see whether it was, or the district will see whether it was approved or whether it was disapproved. Letters are sent out 2 weeks before month into the district, and the district will then send the emails to the relevant principals. So in a nutshell, that is basically the uploading and the processing of the conversions. And it is frankly very easy. The system is very easy to manage, nothing that is really difficult. So it is for me difficult to understand that we are still experiencing a high volume of conversions that we receive that is incomplete. And just for example, we have sent already like 400 conversions back to the school and approved 100. So if we could have processed the conversion that was returned, we could have approved 500 or 600 conversions. And that means it's stability for the school, it's stability for the educator, and the educator can enjoy the relevant benefits that every single one of us are enjoying. So that is the importance of submitting documents that is complete. So on to the next slide. We just outlined some of the challenges that we are experiencing with regards to the documents that's not completed correctly. So one, the A3, that is not matching the qualification of the educator. And I can assure you now that we will not approve a conversion if the educator is not suitably qualified for the post. So once we scrutinize the documents also, we can automatically see on the recruitment whether the person is qualified or not. We will then issue an email to the Gmail account indicating that the educator is not suitably qualified. If you want an official letter, it can also be done based on your request. The second point is requesting conversions, no vacant substantive post on the establishment. So what this means is that schools are submitting documents to be processed when they don't have a vacant post on the establishment. So we scrutinize the documents, we do the vetting, and the last step is to see whether there's a vacant post for the educator. So this means that the department has already spent money vetting the ID, vetting the qualification, and vetting the fingerprints of the educator. So basically, it is wasteful and fruitful expenditure. So if you're unsure about how many vacant posts you have on your staff establishment, I advise that you contact Mr. Harry Arthur and his team so that they can make sure that you have a vacant post. The next bullet, the content of uploaded documents is not in line with the drop-down menu. So I have a few examples here. The one is the DOTS form. So the DOTS form consists of 4 pages. So what the school do is they upload just the first page. That's incomplete. It's 4 pages. Then they upload 4 pages, but the last page is not signed. It must be signed. Another example that I want to give is the Z56 form. The Z56 form requires you to have a Commissioner of Oath stamp, not a school stamp. So the school will put the stamp there. Yeah, it's fine. We will accept it if it says Commissioner of Oath. The other page that must accompany the Z56 form is the bank confirmation letter. So the bank confirmation letter only confirms the information that is on the Z56 form. If you read the Z56 form clearly at the bottom left-hand corner, it asks you to please upload the confirmation letter from the bank, yet it's not being done. There's another form also that was the service bonus form. It consists of 2 pages, yet only 1 page is being uploaded. But we have corrected the document and to have both pages basically on 1 page because it keeps on being an issue. Another document, for example, is the ID. If you have the ID book, it's fine. But when you have the ID card, we receive only the ID of the front page, giving us the details of the educator, but we also require the backside of the ID. Then both pages of the conversion certificate is required. So the conversion certificate is the document that is signed by the principal, the chairperson of the SGB, and the CM. I'm putting emphasis on the CM part because we are receiving the conversion certificate, which is signed by the principal and the chairperson of the SGB, but it's not signed by the CM. If you have an outdated conversion certificate, you are welcome to contact your district office that can provide you with the relevant documents, or it is also on the online information pack. So there isn't a reason why this document is not uploaded correctly. Then we've got the SACE document, which a lot of schools are saying it is a problem, which I disagree, because on numerous occasions we have indicated what is being required if an educator is not in possession of a SACE certificate. So I will say it again. There are 3 documents that we require for an educator who is not in possession of a SACE certificate. 1, it is the application form for registration for SACE. 2, it is the proof of payment with a current date for SACE registration. And the last document that we need is proof that the application form together with a proof of payment was sent to SACE. It is a form of an email. So you just attach the proof of payment, you attach the application form for registration, and you send it via email to SACE. So when you upload the documents for SACE, it is just the email, the application, and the proof of payment. It is not difficult. Or an educator, some educators already registered with SACE, they have a provisional registration certificate with SACE. That provisional registration certificate has got an expiry date. So when you have that certificate, please ensure that when you upload the provisional SACE registration certificate, it is valid, because we are receiving certificates that was expired and outdated. We cannot use that document. So basically, you will see that mostly this is about reading. And if you read the content that we sent, if you read the content on the documents, you will know exactly what is required for conversions. We follow the same procedure with advertised posts. So it is a matter of just uploading what is being required. If you do not upload the documents that we require, we cannot process a conversion, we cannot process a post, and we surely cannot process any other contracts or acting allowance and so forth. So I have to say that the conversions has really picked up. In the beginning, it was a bit of a slow start, but we are receiving quite a number of conversions that are complete. And for that, I want to say thank you for complying, and thank you for your hard work. So I will be giving over to my next colleague, Stacey Pakier. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the session. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. As my colleague just introduced me already, but I'll allow myself to do it myself. So I'm Stacey Pakier, and I am a human resource practitioner within Recruitment and Selection. And today I will be sharing information about the contract appointment process, and I will be focusing on the contract appointment of retirees, of foreigners, and I will also be zooming into transfers and also the challenges that we are currently experiencing. So as you can see, point 1, it just says minute 3 of 2019. Some of you will be thinking, what is that? Okay, so that is the Recruitment and Selection minute. You all should have received it via registry some time ago. If you have not ever seen that document, please do, after the session, download it on the WCED website, and please read it and make sure that you actually comply, or that the school complies with it. Just to give you a total, so you would have seen this amount earlier in one of the slides under stability of schools. So as of April 2023, we currently have 7,727 contract employees. And yes, some of these contractors are appointed against your vacant promotion posts. And you will see for the year for vacancy list 1 of 2023, we received 38 post level 1 or post that was advertised. So if you compare that to, you will see one of my points here is that the conversions or received and advertised post level 1 post versus the amount of contractors, there is a huge gap because as my colleague LZ mentioned, we don't receive like 7,000 or 5,000 conversion applications where we actually should be, into substantive vacant posts. So I want to take this opportunity to encourage you to please, if that educator is in the contract post for 2 years, a year, and you will know the circulars regarding conversion, even 3 months, convert him. And they all should be suitably qualified for the post. And you will be thinking, what is suitably qualified? Suitably qualified is, for example, when you upload that nomination onto PMPS, you will see this. You obviously have to submit the A3 form. You will put there, for example, grade 3, it's foundation phase. Now you should be nominating someone that has, for example, a B.Ed foundation phase, PGC foundation phase. And if you don't see that, then don't bother to actually nominate the person. So going back to that big amount that you see on the screen of 7,727, this has a huge impact on the budget. And therefore, it creates instability at schools because, for example, teacher A is on a contract for a year, teacher A gets a post somewhere else and therefore just resigns, and then the class gets a teacher B, it creates instability. So please, where you can, convert those educators. And like my colleague mentioned earlier also, if it is a skill post and you cannot find anyone, then you may make use of the vacancy list in 2023 that will be open for advertising these posts, but only if it is a skill. Otherwise, please do convert. Going to the next slide. So the contract appointment of foreigners. So you can see on top is the Immigration Act, and yes, schools are thinking we are being funny when we're saying, what if it's, because that will be questions we will be sending via email. What if it's have you made in order to get a suitably qualified South African citizen? And it's not us saying that. The Immigration Act tells you strictly that all posts should be advertised and only if no suitable candidate could be found, or rather no suitably permanent resident or South African could be found, then you may nominate a foreign educator or person, but only if it's also a skill post. So you will see the second slide, it's in red, fraudulent permits. Some of you will think we don't get this, but that's why you will notice that we do get a lot of inquiries regarding foreigners because this process is a bit different to that of your normal contract appointments. Because here we are dealing with work permits, and therefore also ensure before the SGB makes that nomination, check that educator's work permit, check the expiry date. You know that if you are nominating someone for 1 January 2023, if the permit expired June 2022, that person shouldn't be there, So make sure you check the dates. And there are also various types of work permits. So make sure you read it. Don't just look for end dates. Read it properly. There are some visas and that makes provision for teachers to only teach certain subjects. For example, it restricts you from teaching. Like for example, teacher A can only teach consumer studies. It tells you that on the permit. So don't appoint the person into a arts and culture or maths post. And then what I want to also speak about is when we do appoint a foreign educator, we don't do the evaluation ourselves. So therefore, we have to submit this to Pretoria, and it's the Department of Higher Education and Training. And this qualification takes some time before it gets back. So therefore, this might cause a delay, in the salary of the educator. Therefore, it's also important that when you do make a nomination, don't wait until the educator has rendered a service. Do it well in advance because you know the process. And please also tell the educator, look, yeah, we are going to appoint you, whatever it might be, but this is the process so that they can understand and not just run to client service and the minister and whoever, but they can be aware of the process and make sure that you also do upload all the correct documents, because if you don't submit the correct documents, then it actually you're already giving the school a responsibility to pay the educator. And then public servant posts, foreigners cannot be appointed. Your admin clerks advertise it locally. And then I mentioned already that ensure that there's a valid work permit. Also make sure there is originally certified copies is submitted. And at all times, we know you're sick of hearing it, but preference is to be given to South African citizens. And we will always emphasize on the excess list, the Funza Lusaka bursary holder list, which you can all find on PMPS. So there's no excuse. Make sure you consult that list and try your best to find a South African citizen or suitably qualified teacher. You need to also mention that circular that I just spoke about on minute 3 of 2019, it explains to you the process that you need to follow for a contract post. Make sure you advertise it locally so that you can, get a wide target pool. So make sure you do that. And if you now cannot find someone, make sure that there is a motivation and make sure that you mention you actually did follow the circular. And make sure that the CM recommends at all time. And in that motivation, we want you to indicate that what is your commitment to advertise it in the next bulletin. And don't just type it because for the sake that we're telling you that. Please do advertise it in the next bulletin. And then foreigners who have been appointed on contract for a long period of time, we have seen some foreigners being appointed for 3 years. We are zooming into it. And we will shortly get in touch with schools that are doing that. So in this regard, you are then encouraged to pursue the educator to get citizenship in order for you to convert the educator. Moving on to the contract appointment of retirees. I don't really know why we still have retirees in the system, because we have so many people, applying to become a teacher that have graduated. So we have our unemployment rate is high. So therefore, appointing a retiree should be the last resort, because we need to create opportunity to appoint those newly qualified educators and also to give them exposure and experience. You will notice the second bullet speaks of no unqualified or underqualified educators in the system. That is correct. And recently, you can see at the bottom on the slide, there is Circular 36 of 2022, which came out last year. And it tells you that we will not be approving unqualified or underqualified educators in post, but we will only make provision for the appointment of final year students. And when I say final year students, I'm not saying that get a student from CPUT or getting a student from, for example, UWC, that is a full-time student. Don't take them out of the class. But for example, if they owe 1 or 2 modules, then it's fine. You may appoint them. But remember, when you make that submission or nomination, make sure to include the proof of registration, and which will be an academic transcript. And also, when you do appoint your newly qualified, that we obviously encouraging you to do, it's a new person. So it's obvious that the person never got paid by WCED before. So make sure that you comply and submit all the required documents, not forgetting if the person is a final year or newly qualified, they might be waiting for results. They didn't graduate yet. So make sure that you do include the proof of letter of completion, because we're going to request it. It's going to delay the salary. And then the minimum requirements for appointment is when you see RQV 13 professionally qualified. I know some of you heard that before. What it means is the minimum requirement to appoint a teacher is that the teacher will have a 3-year professional teaching qualification, and then they may be appointed. So if you see that the person you're nominating has a 3-year qualification and not professional teacher qualification, a BA, then don't attempt to even nominate, because that person is unqualified. Unless you see a BEd is attached, or you see a postgraduate certificate in education, or if you see education on the qualification, then it should be suffice. But if you don't see education on a qualification, do not send it, because that person is unqualified, and in this regard, it does not promote quality education. And when you do appoint retirees for whatever reason it is, which you shouldn't, because you should be following the circular, you know who's leaving when, so you can therefore advertise early on social media, locally, etc. But for whatever reason, if you cannot find one, then you need to confirm and tell us what efforts have you actually made. And we want that circular minute says you need to give a copy of the advert. And schools have not been doing that. So we want to see the advert you placed on social media. We want to see the list of shortlisted candidates, etc. There's a few totals under. You will see, I spoke about the contract appointment of foreigners. Currently, in service, we have 116. It's kind of shocking. We have a total of 50 retirees that's currently in service also, and unqualified. And that is arguably 10 to 12. What that means is basically matric. So, which we are going to we're going to be disciplining people soon, because the circular tells you, and if you read that circular, speaking under correction, paragraph 6, you need to read that, or paragraph 5. They speak of consequences. So admin officers, when you see him, make sure your CM doesn't sign it off. Ask questions before your circuit manager, because your circuit manager will be the person who will actually get into trouble because he or she is recommending the appointment. I think, and then speaking lastly, I see there is the appointment of retired principals as your caretaker principals. This is more for the colleagues at the district office, because your circuit manager will be the author of this. But make sure that when the submission is drafted and this goes to SG via the district director and via the director recruitment and selection, make sure you indicate the status of the post. Because, for example, that retired principal you are nominating, then it means that currently in the bulletin, the principal post should be advertised, and you need to tell us how far it is, etc. Okay, that's a wrap for contracts. I'll now be moving on to transfers. So you can see this nice colorful image here. So previously we had a bit of old transfer circulars, and we recently updated it. And we even created this pamphlet, because schools have not been complying, and we were hoping by creating this pamphlet, colorful, nicely looking pamphlet, that you will actually comply, because it will be more interesting to read. But seems like it's not that way. So I won't be speaking much about this, because schools should know already what's required. But anyways, there's a few documents, briefly, a letter from the employer or applicant, like you call it, requesting the transfer, not forgetting that you cannot just be transferring left, right, and center because you just don't want to be there. There needs to be a valid reason. So the employee or applicant needs to mention the reason there. There needs to be confirmation from both schools, the school that the person is at and the school the person's going to. It needs to be there. The CMs needs to recommend as well. And please make sure that you do submit it to the Directorate Recruitment and Selection, but ensure that when you do submit, it will be a term in advance to the appointment date or transfer date that you are asking. So comments I won't be touching on much, but that is your admin officers. You know what the procedure is for secondments, and you should have this pamphlet that all of us have received from registry some time ago. There is a few challenges. So you will see Circular 20 of 2022, which was last year. Everyone should have this on their desktop. So if you don't have it, also the same with the Recruitment and Selection Minute 3 of 2019, make sure you download it after the session, save it on your desktop, and all nominations you make, just make sure you comply. So currently the challenges we're experiencing, and also remember there is only post level ones that can transfer. You cannot send the application for a transfer if it's a deputy principal and I want to be a deputy at the other school. No, it's only for post level 1, your teachers. So a challenge is that we're receiving transfers late, and this occurs a lot in November. For some reason, schools has been sending in bulk transfer nominations in November for January, which will not happen. So the teachers shouldn't even be calling because it will not happen for 1 January. And therefore, we're also experiencing that there is some educators actually that do assume duty at other schools without a approved transfer letter. I am now emphasizing that educators are not to leave their post before they receive that letter. And also, it's not just about transferring to another school. We need to ensure that there is a suitably qualified educator being transferred into the post. So when you do submit your transfer nomination, make sure the A3 form is there indicating the phase, grade and subject. Make sure all the qualifications is attached together with transcripts. One of our major issues is the transfers to and from other provincial departments. So in this regard, both provincial departments need to give permission and it needs to be approved on both sides. If, for example, the one department did not approve it yet and they get there, obviously they're not going to take you. Therefore, those educators that's leaving without that letter, you will then have to relocate back to your previous school. And also, there still seems to be a whole lot of incomplete applications. I don't know why, because there's many circulars, there's pamphlets out. So please make sure that you submit full set of documents and it must be into a vacant post. But we at head office will confirm that because it's part of our process. And please, colleagues, do not confuse the transfer with the matching and placing of excess staff, because this is handled by your circuit manager. And then it also says here, we advise schools that before you actually recommend a transfer, make sure that you read paragraph 3.5. Okay, so it's your job to go read that paragraph when we're done with the session and make sure that you comply. And because people just seem to be moving from one post to the other without the approval letter, this has an implication on the budget. So colleagues, I advise you, when you do receive that person that's transferring, you're obviously going to welcome them. But when you do that, kindly ask them, Miss, where is the letter? Can you please give me the approved letter? And if they don't have it, you need to send them back because then they are there illegally at your school. So colleagues, that's a wrap from my side. And I will now be handing over to my colleague, Mr. Harry Arthur, who will be speaking about substitutes.
Good day again, ladies and colleagues. Substitutes, I'm going to do substitute, contract appointments, and acting allowance. Firstly, I'm going to start off with substitute educators. The most important thing, a valid medical certificate that covers a minimum of 15 working days, not less than 15 working days, which means if there is holidays include, we will not calculate that as part of the substitute period. So it must be working days from Mondays to Fridays. So what there is also exceptional CTL courses where people, permanent staff attending courses at CTLI, and where these appointments will be then processed by us from the CTLI section. Most important, what is very important, both leave form and medical certificate must occupy the nomination. In cases the school just send the leave form, we can't process the substitute without the medical certificate because a medical certificate is proof that we must process that nomination for that substitute to be appointment. Very important also, maternity leave for a valid medical certificate indicating the period of maternity. Sometimes the school just send a leave form or a clinic card indicating that person is going off maternity. We don't need a clinic card, we need a medical certificate. The periods also, period leave dates must be filled in correctly. For example, start date must be 20 July, end date will be then 19 November. Schools sometimes do 20 July till the 20th November. That is one day over. So just stay within the 4 months period as indicated according to prescripts. Special leave, unpaid leave, and suspension must always be occupied with an official letter from the department. That is where people has been suspended due to labor cases. Attach that official letter to the nomination so that it can be much easier because sometimes the official phone the schools and requesting these documentation, and that's why delay in salary is. When applying for extension of the substitute, please make sure there is no break in the substitute. For argument's sake, it must not have a 2 or 3 day break in between. It must be the day after to be continued. If there is a break in service, we will then see that substitute as a normal new substitute appointee. All documents we scan as one PDF document and upload it on PMPS. The megabytes must be 5 megabytes. If it's bigger than that, the system will then don't take that nomination. Only nominations recommended and signed by circuit manager will be processed. Make sure that the circuit manager sign the nomination off, enable for timelessly process of the salary. The next slide will be contract appointments. The school must be within the establishment to appoint a contract employer, which means if there is no substantive vacancy, we cannot appoint a person in that position. There must be a substantive vacancy and within the school's establishment. Contract appointment must always be against vacant funded posts, as I just explained. When appointing a contract educator and resigns, a letter must be sent to service benefits. What is being done in these cases is school just send the nomination through and maybe just written on the A3 or on the letter that the person has resigned. Please make sure that the person is leaving or resign. Please make sure that you have that official or the document that that person has given to you or the E55 to show that he have resigned from the position. The A3 must indicate the start and end date of the appointment and also the previous incumbent. That is very important to see for in case of labor disputes, we can see who was the previous person who was in that position to guide us through this process. So make sure that the previous incumbent name is on the A3 form, please. Then there is very important a recent valid Z56 bank form, including confirmation letter of bank, must occupy the nomination. In most cases, there's fraudulent cases. So what we say, fill the valid bank form in and also the letter does prevent any fraudulent cases for these purposes. That is for both educators and public service. The nomination form for public service is a HDMO2 to be completed. No unnecessary documentation. Just attach the necessary documentation we need to process the nomination. As we have already said, nomination will be recommended and signed off timelessly by circuit manager. There will be a salary implication. Person will get salary late and just do it in time. If the educator or anyone come and query about their salaries, please make or assist them. Then we get cases where people didn't get the salaries in 3 months, and we look at PNPS and you see who did and when was this nomination load. Then the nomination was low in the week that person have done so. So make sure to put the nomination on timelessly as the person have already rendered the service. So make sure that the nomination has been only upload the stipulated documentation on PNPS, please. Last slide will then be acting allowance. What we then say important of acting allowance? Acting allowance must be a minimum of 6 weeks for a vacant substantive post for both educators and public service. Not less than that. It must be 6 weeks or more to prevent any inquiries, because the reason we have these principals breaking these periods off and including school holidays in between. So try to do it the best of maybe a quarter for the one educator and the other quarter for the other educator. Acting allowance is a maximum of 6 months. As I say, only one official may act in the post at the same time. No 2 people in one post, only one person in that position. Then we say no chain reaction is allowed. referring to chain reaction, it is where the deputy post, principal post is vacant and the HOD must act as deputy. Then what the school do, they take the teacher and nominate him to acting as an HOD, which means he can act, but he will then don't get remunerated or acting allowance for that period. That is what you call a chain reaction. So don't send the nominations to us because we're not going to process that nominations. Then we come to acting allowance where permanent incumbent is absent, educators only. A minimum of 12 weeks for the following: sick leave, special leave, maternity, secondment, and suspension. That is for, in these cases, for 12 weeks. That means basically a quarter that these people will then be acting. When an educator is acting in a post and does not fulfill the duties due to secondment or not to act in that position, the acting allowance must be terminated timelessly before another person can be nominated. So make sure you send the notification to us as soon as possible to prevent overpayments. If these things are going to go on, then there will be an overpayment and the process of the following acting person will not be done on person. When applying for acting allowance 2 levels higher, make sure that the full motivation is attached to the nomination, where it is where the person is acting as deputy, and the post level 1 must be acting in that. So make sure everything is there. The HODs who are not also in position, they must also say they are not interested in that position. So make sure that motivation is attached. Then we said the nomination for acting allowance for educators is HDM2 to be completed. Only that form, no other forms, please. Nomination for public service, HDM3, only that form, no other document attached to it. And I thank you. I give over to Crystal Meiberg now, Chief.
Good afternoon, colleagues. For a moment to change the presentation, I would like to take you on a quick tour on eRecruit. Before I show you how to upload a conversion document as a demonstration, I just quickly want to take you to the online information pack that we have been referring to earlier on in the process, so that you can see what is in fact available for you. So under the SGB drop-down menu, there are quite a few documents available. First of all, I want to take you to the eRecruit navigation guide. I'm not going to physically go there, but this will guide you in terms of the actions that you need to take depending on what it is that you want to do on eRecruit. So that will explain to you what actions to take. I do want to show you this checklist all appointments. This document indicates for you the type of appointment. It tells you which platform to use at the top of the page. On the left-hand side, you will see the various documents, and depending on the post that you are going to fill, what documents are required. Colleagues, this is up to date, even including the vetting against sexual offenders that we mentioned earlier on. It will tell you the circular that you can refer to in terms of guidance, and it also tells you on which platform to upload the nomination documents. So this is a valuable document for you right after this webinar to go and print and paste it onto a wall place close to where you work. This guides you on a daily basis in terms of the documentation required. Then there's the online information pack, and let's do a quick tour there. Colleagues, as you are aware, you might have had difficulty to open documents that are not in PDF format. This gives you a guide on how to do that. And then I just quickly want to give you a summary of the documentation available on the online information pack. So Section A refers to guidelines, and here you will find, especially for those who act as secretaries of the governing body, the agendas, minutes, draft documents that you can use during your shortlisting and interview meetings. The preface and the cover letter, which also guides you in terms of the required documentation that you need to submit. Also the draft criteria to be used during processes. Colleagues, very importantly, Ms. Sheffers referred to the competency-based assessment that is now managed by the governing body to save time in terms of their process. This item includes every bit of information that you require to manage the competency-based assessment. It even contains a draft email that you send to the candidate to tell them that they are being assessed. Colleagues, then section B and D consist of documents. Section D, documents that candidates would need to complete. Section B are documents that the governing body need to complete, so that's where you can find it. And then circulars and minutes and resolutions. I saw earlier in the question and answer box, there are so many circulars and minutes that get issued. This is where you can find them. As they are issued and they pertain to recruitment and selection, we place them on the online information pack. So please continuously refer to this resource. We update it on a very regular basis. For now, I want to take you to the uploading of a conversion document or a conversion to show you how that works. Colleagues, this is our practice school, and I'm going to show you how to convert this educator over here. I have already completed the first page just to save time. I just need to indicate that this person is going to be teaching, let's say, foundation phase. And I've completed all the other information. I'm now going to capture the information on eRecruit. So it gives you a notice here, ensure that all the requirement documents are uploaded in order for the conversion process to be complete. So I close that. And I am aware of the fact that you cannot see the drop-down menu, but you will see as I upload the documents that they appear on the right-hand side of the screen. So I'm going to go with the A3 first. I have already scanned my documents as per this drop-down menu. And I'm therefore now just going to upload it. So I go and fetch my A3 document. Colleagues, and there you can see the first document that I've uploaded. I'm just going to go through the process quickly and show you. What's it? I wonder if someone is timing me to see how long this process takes. But as you can see, if you have your documents at hand, it's actually quite a painless exercise, in fact. Colleagues, you will also see that we ask for qualifications and transcripts separately because of the fact that we need both, and we often find that schools will upload either one or the other and not both. We require the transcripts to see what the content of the educator's studies were so that we can see if they are suitably qualified. So SACE, done. Almost there. Lastly, the bank form. Colleagues, and please note that the bank form requires not just the Z56, let me just find it here, but also a bank confirmation document. And like one of my other colleagues mentioned, it must be a formal document from the bank with a bank stamp on it. It can't just be a white piece of paper where the person's details are written on and a stamp, because anybody can issue a letter like that. Colleagues, so there are the documents on the right-hand side. 2, 4, 6, up to transcripts, 8, 9, 10, and we are missing one document. So let's see what that is, the verification certificate. There it is. Colleagues, and now you will see I have the Notify HR button. So up until such time as I've uploaded all 11 documents, there's no way I can submit anything to recruitment and selection. So now my Notify HR button appears and I can safely send these documents off. And I will now keep watching my Gmail address to see if there's any correspondence from eRecruit in terms of what I have submitted. Other than that, I expect to receive an appointment letter within the next couple of days. Colleagues, thank you very much. I'm going to hand over to Zenat. So we are just going to change our system onto the PMPS for the moment and allow her to do a PMPS demonstration for you. Thank you.
Hey, good day, everybody. My name is Zenat Sali. I am a human resources practitioner in the Directorate Strategic People Management, and our unit is responsible for the People Management Practices System, or as you all know it, the PMPS. So I'm just going to take you through a quick demo of PMPS, just to show you how to upload a contract appointment. So just a quick note, this function is only available on the principal or the deputy principal's profile. However, as you are admin clerks or admin officers, you do offer a support role at the school or at the district office. So the information that we're going to impart on you here today is to offer assistance. So in the event that someone is struggling with a nomination, you have the background information and you can provide troubleshooting assistance. So I'm just going to take you through the navigation of PMPS. Okay, so in order to load a nomination, you would go to Contract Appointment System and then navigate to the Add Remove Nominee. Okay, so just bear with me with the system. Okay, when you get to this screen, there's one of two things that you can do. You can either include the personal number, and this is if the person's already been in the system, like they've already been appointed by the WCED and they've got the personal number. Or for example, if it's a Funza Lushaka or a student that's fresh out of college or university, you would use the ID number. So the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to use an ID number. And then you'll click on search. Also, before I continue, I just want to direct you below to the required templates. So for each section, we've got a list of templates that will provide a guide which documents you need for whatever post. So it'll tell you substitute educators, what documents you need, contract educators, public servant. and then also for acting nomination. But also you can refer to the guide that my colleague from Recruitment and Selection referred to in the info pack, that Excel spreadsheet, where it also indicates which documents you require. Okay, so after you click search, it will take you to the following screen. So because this is a brand new person, they've never been in the system, you would click add nomination. Okay, so once you get to the following screens, you're basically going to follow through from screen 1 all the way through to screen number 5. So number 1 is personal details. You would fill in all the person's personal details. You would save the tab. Wherever there's a red asterisk, as you can see, that information is compulsory. So you please don't skip it. You need to put it in. Otherwise, the nomination will not save and it will render it incomplete. If you move on to contact details, you do exactly the same. Please put in the information and then save the tab at the bottom as well. Moving on to employment details. Very important, you need to include the sector. So indicate whether the person is an educator or public servant. So I will choose educator. There's an asterisk here, so that is very important. The grades of the subjects taught, it is optional. And then remember the time frame. So PMPS only allows you to upload contract nominations for 15 days or more. Anything less, the system will not accept the nomination. Okay, and then the type of employment, please make sure that you choose the correct type of employment, whether it's acting, substitute, or contract, so that you can ensure that you're uploading the correct documents as well. So just for this exercise, I will say it's a contract post. Okay, you will get this notification to say employment details successfully saved. You can close that, move on to post details. Okay, so here you'll see there's a red asterisk by each and every criteria you need to put something in. For example, if the reason the post is vacant, it's additional posts. So there hasn't been anyone in the post before. All that you can do is you can just say not applicable, not applicable, not applicable, all the way down. But you need to put information in here, or otherwise the nomination will not save. If there was a previous incumbent in the post, you will put that person's details there. Then you'll save it. You can close it once it says it's saved and move to form uploads. Okay. I just want to address a question that I saw pop up in the Q&A. I believe one of the guests indicated that this block doesn't appear. When it doesn't appear, you just need to navigate back to the following 2 tabs, number 3, employment details, as well as number 4, post details, and check that the information that you captured saved correctly. In most cases, something was omitted where maybe the sector didn't save properly, or in post details tab, the rank didn't save properly. So all that you do is just navigate back to the tab, check the information, resave it, and move back to form uploads. Now, PMPS, you can do one of 2 things in terms of uploading your documentation. You can do it as one combined PDF, which is this one here, all required documents, or you can upload the documents individually. So I'm going to choose the all required documents combined. Then at this point, you go and choose your file. I will take one of these documents here just for the purpose of this exercise, and I'll say upload. Okay. Just waiting for the system to register. There we go. So there it says this document has been uploaded already. Okay, that's because I clicked upload twice. But as you can see here at forms, this is an indicator that your documents has uploaded on PMPS. At this point, your nomination is complete. But I would also like you to direct you back to go and check that your nomination is complete, because I have found that this is a step that most of the schools are missing. So you can do this one of two ways. You can go back into contract appointment system, add remove nominee. Then you can put that person's personal or ID number back into the system. Search for the person. And there we go. So that's the nomination that I just did. As you can see there under status, it says complete schools. When you see the complete school status, it means that the school has successfully uploaded the nomination. If you see an incomplete school status, it means that somewhere along the way, the nomination did not save correctly, and you would then need to go into this function here that says edit, and you'd need to go and check your fields. Check that everything is saved properly, run through the nomination again, and then come back here to check that your status is complete. So you can either edit or remove the nomination. At this case, it's entirely up to you. But if it says an incomplete status, it will not move anywhere, and it's just going to lie on the school's record. Once a nomination is complete, it then goes, the circuit manager must then sign it off. Once the circuit manager signs it off, it comes through to our colleagues at Recruitment and Selection. Once they reserve the post, then you'll see a status that says post reserved en route for capturing. Now, at this point, it does not mean that the process is finalized. It then goes to our colleagues from Recruitment and Selection to the Directorate Service Benefits, where they capture that appointment on the personal system. And only once that process is complete, then the person will then reflect on PMPS. So also what I like to show you, the nominee report is also another section where you can go and check all the list of nominees. So you can also use that as a tool to find out whether your nomination is complete or incomplete. So I'd just like the report to open up. So I'll just like to give you a view of what the report looks like, but the principal does also have access to the report as well, where they can also go and check it. Okay, so for the schools, your information is already pre-populated, so you wouldn't need to go and select the drop-downs as I am doing. Okay, and there's the nomination. There it says complete. So colleagues, if you need any other information, please refer your PMPS queries to our PMPS help desk, and I will be more than happy to assist you. That's all from my side. I will now hand over to my colleagues at Recruitment and Selection, Ms. Debbie, and she will finish off for us. Thank you so much.
It is now 11:53 and the system is going to lock me out at 12. So if I speak too fast, please excuse me. I'm just trying to finalize the session. Thank you, Zenat, for your PMPS demo. I learned more about the system today, as I'm sure our audience did. And it's pleasing to note that PMPS also provides a list of the documents required for the different appointments. In summary, the compliance issue, please complete. We need complete sets of nomination documents. The various presenters have delved deep into the documents required and why they are required. We've gone over the consequences of incomplete documents being submitted. Please click the blue Notify HR button. Make sure you're using the right platform. Read the circulars, which are all on the eRecruit website. Make informed decisions. Please request your principal, ask his secretary to keep an eye on the SGB email address. Recruitment and selection does not track outstanding appointments, outstanding documents. We process appointments, and we cannot process an appointment if there is outstanding documents. Contact your HRP for assistance if uncertain about what is required. The communication protocol, district, HRP, ASD, Deputy Director. And I'm issuing a challenge to our HRPs as well. Communicate with your circuit admin officer in your districts. That's it from our side, colleagues. Thank you for your attendance, and we hope that the session has been fruitful and we will experience less frustration with the issue of outstanding documents. If you need any further assistance with anything, we are available. Please contact your relevant HR practitioner. Thank you so much for your attendance.